This video is on question 45 from the 2012 IMAT paper. In this question, we're told that only two of the labelled molecules have both hydrophobic and hydrophilic areas, and we're asked which two they are. So if we know the molecules have both a hydrophobic and a hydrophilic area, or areas, then what are we looking for? Let's start with hydrophobic. So if something is hydrophobic, what does that mean? That means that it's composed of non-polar molecules. Those could be, for a protein, amino acids with non-polar side chain, R groups, for example. And this means that they interact with non-polar molecules. So in the context of our lipid bilayer here, this means molecules with hydrophobic areas, these hydrophobic areas will interact with this hydrophobic portion, the non-polar portion of the lipid bilayer, that is with these fatty acid tails of phospholipids. And next, what do we mean by hydrophilic? Hydrophilic means the opposite. The molecule is polar, and so it interacts with water, water being a polar solvent. Therefore, the hydrophilic areas of the labelled molecules will be those which interact with water. And we know that the water is on either side of this lipid bilayer. So essentially, all we're looking for are two molecules which both interact with the water and with this non-polar hydrophobic portion of the lipid bilayer. So let's start with P. P is quite clearly a phospholipid, meaning it has this phosphate head and a glycerol molecule connecting it to these two fatty acid chains. This phosphate head is highly polar, so it interacts with water, meaning this is a hydrophilic area. These fatty acid tails are long hydrocarbon tails which are highly non-polar and so are hydrophobic. And so this is the first of our two labelled molecules which have both hydrophobic and hydrophilic areas. Next, moving on to Q, which seems to be a transmembrane protein, we can see that the protein interacts with the water on this end and this end, meaning it has some hydrophilic areas, and then it interacts with the non-polar portion of the lipid bilayer here, meaning it also has some hydrophobic areas, meaning this is the second of our two labelled molecules, which have both hydrophobic and hydrophilic areas. Now, to address the others before we choose our answer, first we look at R, and it's clear that R is only interacting with the water, and so it only has hydrophilic areas. And the same, the case is the same for T, which is only interacting with the water and not this non-polar hydrophobic area. S is much less clear, and I think this is quite a badly drawn question really, because with S you can see that it does interact with, that it has hydrophilic areas, that it interacts with the water on this side, and it looks as though it does interact with this non-polar portion here, this part of what I assume is a protein seems to interact with these non-polar fatty acid chains. Perhaps this blank space here is intentional, and this is supposed to be some kind of water-filled pore within the lipid bilayer, but I'm not too sure about that. But as P and Q are both very unambiguous, we'll take those forward as our answers, and there isn't a potential answer of P, Q, and S. So, therefore, as P and Q are the two labelled molecules with both hydrophobic and hydrophilic areas, our answer is A.